Hey everybody, it's me Henry and welcome to my channel. Today in this video, we're going to continue to talk about the book The Way of Life by Mr. Kazuo Inamori, chapter number 2, which is Think in Accordance with the Principles, section number 3 until section number 6. Section number 3, stick to your own philosophy and remain unchanged when facing the temptations. Be firm and follow a philosophy based on principles and which will lead your career to success and a fruitful life. Of course, this is definitely a not fun way to enjoy. Life based on philosophy requires one to restrain oneself, and even most occasions are accompanied by pains. Sometimes it may be a road of suffering, and sometimes in front of the junction, and we are in dilemma. Which way should I choose? So when you hesitate, Mr. Inamori suggests you should stay away from self-interest and choose the road full of thorns, because this is the road that life should take, and we should choose such a silly and hard way of life. However, if we are taking a long-term view, acting based on a firm philosophy will never suffer in the end. Even if it seems to be a loss at the time being, and it will definitely return to profit soon, and it will certainly not going to make a big mistake. For example, the Japanese economy has not yet struggled from the sequelae of economy bubble. At that time, many companies were obsessed with the hard and speculate the real estate. Just by reselling the land's ownership, the value of the assets continued to soar. In anticipation of appreciation, they borrow huge sums of money from banks and invest them in the real estate investment. And many companies have done this before. And just holding the properties in your hand will continue to appreciate. How good is that? So this is abnormal from economic principle, and behavior that violates this principle seemed nothing wrong at the time. However, with the collapse of the economic bubble, assets that should produce value suddenly became negative assets, and many companies were therefore burdened with the bad debts. So some people may think that this can only be said now after the incident. No one can say anything. But however, if you have the exact principles and philosophy, you should be able to make a correct judgment, and no matter what situation. Well, Kyocera has accumulated the large cash deposit, and it has repeatedly faced the temptation to invest in the real estate. Among them, some people at the bank thought that Mr. Inamori did not understand the earnings and sincerely told Mr. Inamori how to make money. However, just turning the land from left hand to the right hand can get huge benefits, and how could be such a good thing? If there is, it is nothing but a ill-gotten gains. Money that easily obtained will easily slip away as well. Therefore, Mr. Inamori rejected all investments suggestion. And section number 4, only the hard-earned money is the real profit. Mr. Inamori has such an extremely simple belief. So that is the philosophy he has always pursued. Therefore, even if he heard that he could obtain a huge investment profits, he warned himself not to be greedy. And this philosophy has always supported him and has never wavered. Even we know there's a suffering and we still have to abide and endure the philosophy. So do we have this kind of attitude in our heart? So this is a way for whether you can live a truly fulfilling life and reap the fruits of success. And up next, implementation is meaningful. Human beings are originally fragile beings. Unless they consciously restrain themselves, they will eventually be unable to resist desire and temptation. This is a fact. Here's a story happened in Kyocera Corporation. After Kyocera has developed to a certain extent, company directors can use the company cars with drivers when going out on business. A director didn't have a car when he got off work on time and was ready to go home. So on that day, the general staff thought that the director might be working overtime, so they moved the car to the sales director, a manager who was busy with work and needed the car. So the director knew that and said aggressively, when he knew that someone like the head of sales actually used the company's car, his car. So this incident also spread to Mr. Inamori. So he called the director and said to him, "This is not because the director is a high position and you have the car and use the car. This is a car that allows employees who are doing more important tasks and not worry about transportation and other things, and allow them to concentrate on their work." Think about it, are the directors who go home on time qualified to yell at the head of sales who are so busy? Even if directors have the priority, so they are still company's car and not own car. This is the principle. When the status is promoted in an organization, these things that were taken for granted are so easily be ignored. So Mr. Inamori have had the same experience with this. In the early days of the business, Kyocera Transportation was a small two-wheel motorcycle, and Mr. Inamori he drove himself. Soon after that, a small car named Subaru 360 was purchased. So at the beginning, Mr. Inamori drove himself, but he always thought about the work company managers were driving. So this was dangerous. So he decided to hire a driver. And soon after that, the company changed to a bigger car and the driver could drive Mr. Inamori home to work. On one day in the morning, when the car came to Mr. Inamori at the door of his house, so happened that his wife was also going out, and he asked her to take a ride on the way, but his wife refused. She said, "If this is your car, then I can let you take me a ride, but this is company car. Don't use the company car for private usage. Didn't you say that before?" So there must be a clear line between company and private. So I walk away. So the words from his wife make him feel ashamed and speechless. So this is a small example of everything. It's easy to say but difficult to do, and it is not easy to implement. Principles are meaningless if they are not implemented with such a firm will. Principles are the source of correctness and strength. At the same time, they are also very fragile. If you don't tell yourself all the time, they will be easily forgotten. Because of this, don't forget to self-reflect at any time. Self-examination of your action and add them to the principles of life. Next, section number 6, mindset determines the direction of life. The truth or empirical guidelines that Mr. Inamori learned from work and management are the simple principles that people should adhere to. They are all ordinary things expressed in the plain language, but this ordinary and simple thing is deeply universal. And here Mr. Inamori is going to give a very small part of introduction about philosophy and principles. First of all, he wants to put forward the equation of life. It is the equation introduced in the preface. Result of life and work equal to mindset multiplied by enthusiasm multiplied by ability. The most important factor in this equation is the mindset. As mentioned earlier, for Mr. Inamori, who has only ordinary ability, how can he achieve the results beyond the ordinary people, and how can he contribute his meager ability to the society? After thinking over and over again, he came up with this life equation. In the actual work and life path from now on, he'd always use it as the foundation of his way of thinking. The key to this equation of life is multiplication. For example, someone who is smart and can score 90 points on the ability factor. But if he shows off his ability, proud, complacent, and slacking off in his efforts and only shows 30 points of enthusiasm, then the result is only 2,700 points. On the other hand, a person with an intermediate IQ level has only 60 points of ability and knows that because I'm not capable, and makes up for the shortcomings through hard work. So what will happen to the work with an enthusiasm more than 90 points? So the result is obvious, 5,400 points. Compared with the talented but not enthusiastic figure above, the result of the calculation is double the performance. And multiplied it by the score of the mindset. The mindset is the most important because it expresses directionality. In other words, there are good ways of mindset and bad ways of mindset. There are people who show enthusiasm and ability in positive direction, and people who show enthusiasm and ability in a negative direction. Therefore, the factor of mindset has a negative number. Even if the value of enthusiasm and ability is high, if the factor of mindset is negative, the result of life and work is also negative. Talented people devote their enthusiasm to work, such as fraud, thief, and other criminal activities. The mindset works in a bad direction, and this is absolutely impossible to get a good result. Because of the equation of life is expressed by multiplication. So first of all, the mindset must work in a positive direction. Otherwise, even those with superior ability and full enthusiasm will become useless treasures, which will harm the society instead. During Mr. Inamori's old age, so he heard a quote from Mr. Fukuzawa Yukichi's speech, which further confirmed the correctness of the equation of life. He said this: "Thinking is as far-reaching as a philosopher, and mind is as noble and upright as a warrior, combined with the talents of the small officials and the body of the people, so that it will become a master of industrial society." So this sentence outlines the necessary condition for becoming an outstanding talent in industrial society, almost in order of priority. That is to say, deep thinking like a philosopher, a clean heart like a samurai, a talent like a small official, and a strong body like the common people. Only when these factors are in place can it become a useful hero in society. It is the deep thinking and honest heart that Mr. Fukuzawa Yukichi said is the mindset in the equation of life he proposed, and a smart talent is equivalent to the ability, and a strong body is equivalent to the enthusiasm of unremitting efforts. So in this way, he has become more convinced that the mindset, enthusiasm, and ability, they are so important to life. So those are the sharing for today's video. And if you find values and learn something from this video, you gotta smash the subscribe button and turn on all the notifications so that you're not gonna miss out any videos just like this from this channel. And most importantly, leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, and I would love to read your comment and reply to your comment. And I hope to see you in the next video.